I am starting my morning among the kale in my Swedish kitchen garden. It's early Sunday and my name is Sara and it's a bit chilly this morning and I hate to go up feeling cold and freezing, so I always wear plenty of clothes. And my cat is here beside me in a tent. Over here lies three of my children. They have spent several nights in there, and it's quite cozy actually to put them to bed and read a story time only for myself. And today we are going to have a birthday party for our 6-year-old daughter. So I am making cakes at the same time I am talking to you, actually. A chocolate cake with berries. Lovely. I wake up today feeling quite satisfied. The last few weeks have been quite sad, I think, in a way, in my garden, because it's so very, very dry in Sweden. And I have been longing for this season for, I think, 2 years. Because we have, in 2016, we had our fourth child. And I know by experience it's really tough growing lots of vegetables and taking care of babies and taking care of brothers and sisters and working and everything. So I have tried to be, nice to myself and not having, the explosive ambitions about the garden. I have pretty much been growing vegetables, but not thinking too much about flowers and the aesthetic aspects of the garden. So I have been looking forward to this season because I wanted to grow plenty of summer flowers and plenty of different varieties and challenge myself and all of that. So I have been prepared all spring and all winter, and I have been preparing my, the garden beds and everything, and made plans, looking forward to the season. And it all started out pretty good, mainly because I had a very successful winter garden. We have been harvesting food every day all through the winter, and my expectations were like huge. And then entering a very dry spring and an even more dry summer, and I feel quite satisfied about what I have achieved in the garden so far, even though it's dry. But I have not had that, the sort of the fighting spirit or the yes, come on, let's do it, that type of feeling. Because whenever I have spent time in the kitchen garden, I haven't had that many things to do really, because I have had plenty of space that I could not use because it's too dry. And when it has been dry too long, the soil is so dry that it will basically take days and maybe weeks to make it moist and wet enough, or whatever you call it, to make a sowing or to make a planting. So it's so much work to make it work. So I have chosen not to use several parts of the kitchen garden. For example, I have several, as we say in Sweden, palette colors. I know some of you growing vegetables in other countries don't know what that is. I can show you later on. But it's like a raised beds in the garden. And I haven't, made any sowings or plantings. What have been easiest to do is to grow things in my mulched garden, and I am sitting next to my cabbages, and this is the part of the garden where I grow the brassicas. I have plenty of space left here, so what I have done basically is that I make sowings. I sow brassicas all year round. I know some of you don't do that because you maybe think that brassicas like kale and a few cabbages are not very hardy, but they are. So especially the Savoy cabbage. I grow plenty of Savoy to keep in this garden for winter. So in this bed, for example, in between the strawberries, I should have grown plenty of Brussels sprouts, but the slugs ate it, unfortunately. So I haven't got many plants left, but that gives me plenty of space, and my wish was to fill it with other brassicas now later in the summer. But the last few weeks then I have felt a bit tired about it all, simply because it's so dry. And I usually don't water that much in the garden. I can keep with the rain basically, and I think I water like one part of this garden each week, and then I can stay with a mulched bed. This is I think you call it a deep mulch garden, where I simply cover the soil with organic materials like grass cuttings and leaves and straw or whatever, and plant parts, of course. I mean, if I harvest, like this is a chard, and if I harvest, let's say, plenty of cabbage or chard or whatever, and I get stalks and leaves that people mainly put on their compost heap, I put it back in the garden. And in the garden, the worms will come up. It's like a huge restaurant for the worms, and they eat it, and they produce manure, worm manure. And actually in this garden, if I do this properly, I can get about 30 tons of worm manure in my garden, only by using this mulch technique. So it's very, very good. And it grows best then in parts where I practice this. To be able to practice the mulch technique, I used to have material. And if my neighbors don't cut their lawns, for example, and if I am not able to collect the grass cuttings, and if I don't have leaves stored in a huge heap, I am not able to do this. And it's also another problem, because when it's very dry, the soil, the upper level of the soil is very, very dry. So if I put on like moist grass cuttings, a layer of grass cuttings, it will be a problem, because it will not decompose in the same way sorry, on top of the soil, because the soil is too dry. So no worms or insects will really go there, because it's not a healthy place to stay. So in order to start a new mulched bed, I have to water it quite a lot, so the upper parts of the bed is moist, and then put on a layer of grass cuttings. And this part, this open air garden, is 350 square meters. I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's quite huge. And I have to water a lot. So I have felt like what to do then? And I have tried to water my polytunnels because it's easier and it stays like what do you say? Humid? Well, the air is not too dry anyhow, so it's easier for me to keep the soil moist and so on. But yesterday I posted on my Swedish Facebook page a post sharing some pictures from July in, I will move a bit. I posted some pictures from July last year showing all the green vegetables and it really grew fantastic. Saying that, well, I am a bit sad at the moment. How do you react to well, the well being very dry and so on? And people say that, well, I water. You water? I said, yeah, I do. And in our garden we have a well, so we are not connected to like a community water. And it's not a dug well. It is I don't know what you call it, but it's very very deep. It is nearly 200 meters deep, and I have been afraid to use too much water in the garden, and that's why I have not watered this open air part. Mainly because we are a huge family. It's not huge. It's a big family with 4 children. And if we are not able to like cook and clean our clothes and everything, it will be problems. So I have not watered. But then people say that I have that kind of well as you do, and it has never been dry and we have never had any problems. I think you should water. Really? I say, you think I should water? So I thought about that, and me and the children, we took our bikes by lunchtime going to the local shop. We have a small local shop in this village. In the main village, we are about 250 households. It's very, very important, right? So we took our bicycles. Lovely time. The small road is here. And before I left, I put on this, don't know if you call it a sprinkler. And it watered the area among the stone wall over here for nearly an hour. And I was very nervous. And then we got home and I felt quite satisfied. Yes, I did it, right? This kind of thing. When I use this, I always try to put it on a, well, to raise it a bit over the garden beds, because if I put it directly on the bed, it will not cover such a big area, right? So this was the area that I watered yesterday. And then something else happened, because we were invited to a small birthday party. We have celebrated Alba for like 3 times this week. Oh, they are awake in the tent now. They fell asleep so late yesterday. Anyhow, we were invited to friends of ours, to Nini and Göran, yesterday, and they have a huge garden. It's not a huge vegetable garden, it's a huge, fantastic, amazing flower garden with lots of perennials and bushes and trees, and everything is just so pretty. And it's not only pretty, it's amazing because it's a garden with a lot of character, I would say. And we sat down and we spoke plenty about knitting. We had lovely cakes, and we also spoke about watering. And they have this type of well as well, and they say that they water, and it has never gone like empty on water. And they also explained how this well works and where the pump is placed in the well. And so I actually felt I was, I was full of energy when I returned home, and it was this uh, football championship, and Sweden had a game yesterday, and we were supposed to look, but I have to go out watering, so I watered this whole garden. No, not the whole garden. This main section with and also um, like palette colors, raised beds in the north part of the garden, um, and yes, I felt good. So what I did, I can show you. I will just give them a few seconds to wait and to wake up in the tent. So what I did was that I finally watered the garden beds as a preparation for the next step. And you who follow me and have done that for a while, and also read my blog, my garden blog at sarabäckmo.com, it's translated to English, you know that I grow vegetables all year round in a type of winter garden. So growing vegetables in wintertime means that I have to prepare very carefully already during summer, because, well, the vegetables has to grow so that they are ready to harvest when the winter comes and when the darkness comes. In Sweden, it is like this. It's not comparable to Canada right away, because it's darker in Sweden than you have in like Canada. So when winter comes, we have cold. It's like cold weather from in the north part of Sweden, I would say September, October. You have frost, and we have frost as well here in south parts of Sweden, but mainly it's about December, January that we have a proper winter. But already from mid-November, it's so dark, the daylight is not good enough for any vegetables to grow in between mid-November until mid-February if it's a good winter. This winter that passed, we had dark and cold, very long in springtime, so it was very difficult, but still I managed to harvest. So to be able to have food, I really need to make plenty of sowings, and I need to prepare my garden beds, and that has been difficult, very difficult. So that was what I did yesterday, feeling yes, like this, fighting spirit. And when I was a child, I checked this video, and you notice it on my voice. I become much more happier speaking about this. When I was a child, I just loved this movie. I don't know if the title is correct, but I think it's called like green fried tomatoes or fried green tomatoes. And it's a character. I don't know. I don't remember her name, but she is a bit, she's a middle-aged and is a bit overweight and not totally satisfied with her life. And she is drive a car to a supermarket to park the car, and she finds this parking spot, and she is just going to drive into it. Hello, Catherine from New Zealand. And she's just going to put her car on that parking lot when another car comes and, grabs it. And she, oh, what are you doing? She says. And it's a young woman in this fancy car saying, well, I'm faster, I'm younger and I'm faster. And she's just, being so angry. And she backs off, and then she just the engines are running, and she crashes into this fancy car several times, and she's shouting "Tuanda," because that's her like fighting word. God morgon. That's another part of the story, but when she does this, she also says, well, honey, I am older and I'm more well insured. And I just loved that, even when I was a child. I don't know why, but I still love that part. And sometimes when I turn, being sad or upset about something, then feeling happy, and like now in my garden, I feel Tawanda. I own this fucking place. and I can do something with it. So actually I had myself some energy yesterday, and I also changed my strategy, because that is something that I do all the time, and not only in my garden life. I try to make strategies for things like doesn't work. I try to figure out why the feeling that it doesn't work. So my strategy now is to water each and every single part of this kitchen garden for a week, and do it very yeah, carefully, to water often. So before I went to bed, I prepared a few places that now when our 2-year-old wakes up in a few minutes, I will put on the water. Otherwise, if I do it now, he will be a bit disturbed about the sound, so I will give him a few minutes. And at the same time as I water, that's also a problem, because if I don't water the garden, I cannot you know, fertilize, and I do. Now I must think about the correct word. It's um, a fertilization, you know, you do with nettles, a water, and it's not possible for me to water my beds with this fertilization if it's too dry. So I have to water it first with like water, and then I put on this fertilizer. So this is a bed with nettle tea. Yes, Catherine, thank you. So in this bed I have the onions. It's a salad onion and another culture variety of onion. In Swedish we would say potato onion. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. So I water it here, and then I put on my nettle tea. It stinks. And while we were checking the football game, the children came and say, "Oh, it sounds, it smells shit inside the house. Some of the kittens must have, dummy things on the floor or whatever. Can you check it out?" No, I have just put on the nettle tea. Before we move on to the other part of the garden where I prepared my beds, I will show you. This is how the garden looks at the moment, and yes, it's very green and nice. And as I said, you, whenever doubtful about what I am doing or how the garden develops, I try to think of my ambition. And in this case, my ambition is to harvest food each and every day in my garden, and if I do that, I am satisfied. So those past weeks, I have thought about that whenever I am in the garden. That all right, I'm not feeling that good about it's being too dry, but well, in just a few days we can harvest this cabbage. And this is a heritage variety. It's called Calibos, a red cabbage. All this area is actually planted with the red varieties of vegetables. Yeah, I will take you to the other parts. This is what I'm going to water today. It's sugar snap peas and soya beans and the black salsify, more peas. Oh, and I really love those. It's, I forget the name. And this is the taste of my childhood summers, because this type of pea my mother used to grow. Oh, lovely. But if I should get, a good crop of this, it needs water. So I'm very happy that I have decided to give it a try to water, just to see how it is. Those things, the sticks, I buy them from my children. They collect them in the forest. For the one keeping the forest, he have cut down a whole lot of trees. So the children go there, and I buy them for 1 or 2 Swedish kroner. Snow peas, yes, Catherine. Snow peas, that's the word. And yesterday evening, roots. I am going to water here as well. I have different kind of types of, you say, holes. This one is a flat one with holes in it, so it simply shoots the water up in the air, and it's very good to cover like an area that I made sowings. And under this fleece I have the carrots. They are starting to show. Don't know if you, oops, here are carrots, but they need some water. It's been very difficult for me with the carrots this year. I have to compensate with other vegetables. But over here, by the sweet peas, you see this row of sticks. I bought them as well from the children. Didn't know what to do with it, but it looks nice. It's placed here. Well, we will pass the tent. It's nice, actually, when I was out in the garden. God morgon. Good morning. When I was out yesterday evening, I heard the children snore in here. Ni snarkade i natt? Nej. Yes, you did. All right, so in this part of the garden, I have started to prepare, it's like flower beds, like I have under this tree. It's too dry to grow any flowers this year, so unfortunately it looks like this. And I have planted as well a section with strawberries. An ordinary summer it would have been great, but today it's not. Right, so this is the thing we call in Sweden the palette color. And it's very practical because you can build it in different heights. Here I have 2 palette colors on top of each other, and I grow cabbage in here. So what I did yesterday was that I watered those palette colors, and this one is just covered with grass cuttings, basically because I can't do anything with it when it's this dry. So I have to water it, and then I can plant or make sowings. And this top layer of grass cuttings will prevent the water from, disappearing to the air. So this is really amazing. I think this is like magic. You see under here, I find worms, and they work here, decomposing the grass cuttings, and the top layer of soil is very moist, and it's really, really, really good. So I will simply try to water once or twice or a few more times if needed to prepare this place to take care of all my vegetables. And I also have sowings I can show you. I will try to grow more brassicas like pak choi and the Chinese cabbage, because we really like that. And this part is the sad part. This is my 2 square meter or 20 feet garden vegetable challenge that I started last autumn, last fall. I will do a new video about that because it has not been, you know, the first thing to take care of when it has been this dry, because it's an experiment and I didn't want to put my time and energy on that part when I have to take care of parts that will provide us with like more food for a longer season. And in here I also watered plenty. It's carrots and it's chard and broccoli, sprouting broccoli, and broccoli. Broccoli is one of my favorite. Well, it's like a kale actually, because you can use the leaves and the sprouts. I will just show you before I go into to make that cake a few of my winter sowings. No, it's not winter sowings. Sorry, summer sowings. I try to keep them in shady places, and this is one of them. So I have, yeah, it's the Chinese cabbage, the scarvita. There's a video about that one showing it's like a purple pink Chinese cabbage. More, this is the snow peas and chive and lettuces and dill and the beetroots. And well, there are sowings pretty much everywhere in this garden. And now after I made this, I took this decision to start watering. Even if it's only, you know, past a night since I took that decision, I have been able to think pretty much about how to do it and what to do and so on. So I sorted all my seeds like a few days ago, and I will now bring them out and I will start making new sowings, because now there are plenty of opportunities and that feels good. Yeah, now I will sit down for a few minutes in my polytunnel. This is the place that I have been watering the last couple of weeks. And it's really nice. It's really nice. We harvested peaches the last days and berries and cucumbers and everything. I will have to show you our place. Now I rest for a few minutes and then go inside making breakfast and this birthday cake. Thank you for watching. And if you want to, you can have a look at my blog posts at sarabäckmo.com and watch the other videos at this channel. I will be so happy if you subscribe. I checked out yesterday and saw that 900 people are following by subscribing, and it's really nice. I mean, this is a small kitchen garden in Sweden. And yeah, it feels nice to know that you are watching. Makes me happy. sarabäckmo.com. See you in a while. Hope you are having a nice day in your garden. Bye bye.